Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, this time of the year, the fishing really becomes iffy in so many ways. And I thought of one in particular because in our last report, I talked about the structure and the grass and the bass fishing in Florida. And they actually monitored it on a one-day basis. They found that the fish would really strike in the morning, and then there was a real sort of downplay during the afternoon. And what happened is it got really calm. And the guy that was doing the show said, but you know, the wind, if the wind comes out, it usually stimulates a refeeding process. And sure enough. So that's a positive about wind. But right now in the fall, I find that wind is one of the biggest obstacles to us being able to go out and enjoy fishing. And why is that? Well, first of all, in the fall, the fish are retreating, in most cases, from the shoreline. The weed beds retreat from the shoreline. I mean, I was talking to my buddy this morning, Dave Swanson, and he told me down in Cayuga Lake, he had taken his boat out, but just along the shore, he said the water's so clear. And he says, I can see down to at least 15 feet. And where there are weed beds along shore, there had always been fish when I'd look off the dock. Those weed beds have receded, and there's no fish to be seen. So how is this affecting everything in the fall? Because there's far more changing weather fronts that are moving through in the fall. And so you have period after period of wind gusts or days where the wind might be 20 miles an hour with gusts of 35 miles an hour. Well, that really affects the fishing. The fish are going to be harder to find, perhaps, but more so, the wave action, the roughness of the water makes it really difficult for you to be out there. If it's 50 degrees and it's 5-mile winds, that's one thing. If it's 50 degrees and you're on the water and that water is cooling down and the wind is picked up over 30 miles an hour, believe me, you're going to have a challenge. You're going to be freezing to death. And if you're not in a good-sized boat, that can become dangerous. I remember when we were having our big bass blowouts in the first week of October. And one of the biggest complaints we got from people was, you choose to have it this time and the winds, it gets so rough, it gets dangerous for us. And we heard this from a number of people. People that had a 17-foot bass boat that when I was a kid would consider this a big ocean liner. They were reluctant to enter the tournament because of the danger that the river could possess with its high waves. And this is something that really is part of fall fishing. And we have so many other restrictions right now, too. We've talked about it. Almost every place now, the docks are taken out. The water's lowered in a lot of bodies of water. So that makes it more difficult to access the waters if you can't get your boat in. And so fewer and fewer people fish right now. And it's something that I did want to bring your attention to because it's affecting me. If I'm out on the tributaries where I fish, and I'm having a hard enough time finding bass anymore. It gets this late in the year. I can't really find them in the grass in the Racket River. But to make matters worse, I always use lighter tackle. And when I'm out there and the wind's blowing, we talked about this on another report, but it's really made it more difficult for me to fish and fish in the way I like to fish. So I'm starting to associate fall with higher and heavier winds. And it really makes it a lot tougher for us to enjoy what little fishing we have left until the ice forms. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.